right, so tell us about the interior, man. What do you have going on here?
Let me sit down. I'm getting kind of tired. Okay, so like I was saying before, the interior is my favorite part. You have your wraparound dash that you don't really see that often in the Honda world.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also, for back in 1992, this is pretty sweet. This is digital for your gas and your heating. I don't have no gas right now. Now this isn't the original gauge cluster. This is like upgraded EL cluster. My car came with an analog cluster, and this is actually from the VTEC model with an 8K 8000 rev line.
Wow.
And I got lucky. I got this off of Craigslist for like $50, like maybe 2 months after I bought my car.
Nice. So it's been with you for.
So you can see the mileage is way off. This gauge cluster only had 50,000 miles when I bought it, and it's at 117 right now.
You do the math, right? Nice. Cool. And then
you got your clock over here. I actually added a voltmeter right here
for the battery. Nice.
So I can monitor my battery. As you can see, it's a little bit low. It's getting up there. Like I said earlier, I had the JDM digital climate control. Obviously, it doesn't function anymore because I took out the heating and the blower box and the AC. But it still lights up. It's still, everything.
Buttons work.
Yeah.
Nice.
And this was one of the sensors for it. And there's another sensor for it up here. And this is a JDM option right here, coin pocket.
Nice.
Usually on the USDM models, you have 3 switches right here for cruise control, for sunroof, and for your dimmer.
Oh, okay.
So this is a JDM option.
So where did you move the sunroof control and everything? To the center?
Right here.
Nice.
Now this sunroof is actually switches from a Acura CL.
Oh, okay.
And normally you would put your fog light, on the USDM model you put your fog light switch right here. But the switch is the same size and it works.
Might as well use it.
You got your hazard. When I used to have the power folding mirrors, this is the button for them. Mm-hmm. Originally this was on the door, so I had to relocate the switch as well.
Wow. So the door looks much cleaner too as well, so that's good. And then
you have a JDM cup holder. And the only difference between this and USDM is this little thing right here, which holds like Red Bulls and stuff. This whole console is actually a JDM console, because on the USDM model, the e-brake is on the
left side.
Is on the driver's side. And I didn't like that because my knee would hit it, because I had the... Well, actually, originally when I bought the car, it had a console all the way to the back, which in the Prelude world we call it the sex blocker, because it goes all the way back here and it blocks the back seats.
Oh, those forms are fun, I guess.
And this console is from the 94 96 model with the armrest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the 92 93 models, they had different consoles.
Oh, okay.
So I swapped that out, and originally I had the USDM one, e-brake over here. So then I found the JDM one with the e-brake on the passenger side. I switched over to that to, get the e-brake away from me. And then obviously, there's buttons up here. This is for the dimmer.
Mm-hmm. Front
fog lights, rear fog light. And then this is for heated seats. I don't have heated seats installed. I just have
what? Does Ricardo doesn't? What are you talking about?
I just have the switch for now. Maybe one day in the future, I have the option. The shift assembly is actually pretty upgraded for a Prelude, as much as you can before getting like a K-tuned assembly, which maybe I'll do one day in the future. But I have a Forbidden Motorsports short shifter, which isn't like that well known of a company. There was pretty much a guy on Honda Tech back in the day that made short shifters and cooling plates.
Oh, okay.
And he sold them for specifically 92, 96 chassis.
Okay.
So he sold them, and I don't know how many are out there, but it's a pretty rare piece nowadays. And then I have the Circuit Hero shift extender with this is actually pretty rare, the ARC titanium teardrop knob. They don't make these ones anymore. This is actually before when they went bankrupt.
Oh.
Nowadays you can still get like the round knob.
But it doesn't have that extra little design.
Nah, I've tried all the ARC knobs, and this is my favorite by far. It's just, I just love the feel of it. Besides that, I have Shea Spec solid shift bushings for the shifter plate. You can't see them obviously, but those had a huge upgrade just to make it more solid, because originally it has rubber shift bushings, so you like more play. Besides that, over here we have Works Bell short hub. And I have the Works Bell quick release wrap 2. Now I used to have Energy, and I don't know, there's nothing wrong with Energy. A lot of people use Energy, but I just wanted something a little bit more quality. Something, because when I got them, there's a big difference. You could feel like it's more sturdy. It's just the metal is a lot harder. It's just, I don't know. It's a big price difference too, though. So,
Right.
and I put titanium hardware for the hub and for the wheel. And for the wheel is a 330 millimeter. It's 330 or 340. I can't remember. Keys Racing. Now you don't see Keys Racing like on Hondas too often. More like Subis and Evos. But I wanted something with blue stitching. Obviously, I did have a personal steering wheel before, but I just kind of wanted something a little different, stand out. And I love the wheel. It's very comfortable. It's a nice wheel. A lot of people, ask me about it because it's not something you see too often in Hondas. Floor mats, I got lucky on these. These are from Canada, and they sat in a dealership, I guess, as a display model for a number of years. And they're a lot thicker than the USDM ones because the harsh winters in Canada. And they're brand new when I bought them, so can't beat that.
Definitely.
The carpet is actually pretty new as well. The carpet I got from Big Mike.
Okay.
Because he had 3 phases, and when his car was green, he still had his interior, and he had all new interior parts, center consoles, and he bought brand new carpet. He told me from Vintage Honda. So when he recently redid his car, he gutted it and caged it.
No need for that. Yeah.
And so I hit him up on the carpet because it was basically brand new. So I got the carpet off him.
What kind of pedals?
Pedals are Mugen pedals, authentic from King's Motorsport. I got them with their Black Friday special, so I didn't pay full price, luckily.
Nice. And then tell us about the seats of the harness.
Well, the harnesses are Takata harness. I don't remember the exact model. I know there's a couple different models, but these are the thicker ones, like the 3-inch, I believe. And the harnesses, I got to give a shout out to Nemo's Garage because he helped me get the harnesses and the harness pads. This is actually the first thing I bought from Nemo's Garage back when Angel was just there by himself. He didn't have any employees at the time. Because now I know he actually has other employees run his shop. But I got the harness. This is probably 4 years ago now.
Wow.
The seats are Recaro SR4. I got these from a guy in Florida, Pillar Bar. That's EM Racing. And then this middle speaker is from the VTEC model. Those are the only models that come with the rear speaker.
So you switched out the rear, okay.
Yeah, and then there has 2 6x9s in the top. And then it didn't have, when I bought the car, it had cloth interior, so all this leather rear seats and the leather on the door.
From the higher
VTEC
trim
model.
Yeah.
And this actually is from a JDM model as well, this rear part. On the USDM model, there's a huge pocket in here.
Where?
There's this middle divider. On the USDM model, there's a huge pocket, so you can't really, not that you can really sit back there anyways, but that's just a difference. Obviously, I have aftermarket gauges. These are all the AEM X Series gauges. And I got the gauge pods from Ortiz Custom Pods out in New Jersey, I believe. And those were like a 3 to 4 month wait because they actually take your OEM pillar bars and these are actually like tweeter covers originally. And they'll take them and then they'll mold the pod housing around it. So it's all OEM fitment. And up here I have a boost. Since I'm only supercharged, it only goes up to 8 pounds of boost. So it goes from 0 to 15 pounds. I have the oil pressure. This is a water temperature gauge. And here's the air fuel ratio. And then on this side is for the water meth system.
Okay.
This shows you this is a flow gauge and also a fail-safe gauge. So say you got a clog in your system or the pump fails or you run out of water meth mixture. This will basically flash and warn you.
Hey.
And then also sends a signal to the ECU to put it in a fail-safe mode so you don't blow up your engine.
Wow.
Now down here, this is a AEM Series 2. And then next to it, I have the controller for the water meth system. So right now it's starting off at 2 pounds and it goes up to 10 pounds. And basically this controls the spray mixture of your water meth. It's kind of like the brain to the whole system.
Wow.
Now all the gauges and that too are wired into the ECU as well for data logging.
And you did that all yourself?
Yeah, with help from Bisimoto and some wiring schematics.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right, Jeremy, so tell us a little bit about your engine compartment. What do you have going on?
Well, there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on.
Well, let's start with the front, I guess. This is a cooling plate that I had custom made. It's originally from a Skyline R32. Now what they did was, it was originally a lot more rectangular, and so I cut it to. I had another cooling plate for Forbidden Motorsports, the same as my short shifter I was telling you about. So I just kind of used that as a template to put on top, and then trim the titanium away. And then my buddy Chris, he has a shop called JDM King Lab Automotive. He actually polished the titanium, this piece, my spark plug cover, and my exhaust too.
Okay.
And then he did the heat treat on them with the torch.
Nice.
To add a little bit of color to it. And then this right here is the overflow tank for the radiator. And that's a custom piece too from my buddy Chris. Originally there was the hood latch right here, but I made this plate and deleted that when I added the
hood pins.
Hood pins.
I always forget. That's what I was gonna say. Like, yeah, that's just the positioning. You know. That's...
But like I was saying about this though, this was actually a combo oil catch can / reservoir. But my buddy Chris, what he does is he cuts them in half, so you could just use the reservoir half. And then he's kind of done this on a number of them. So he's on his car and a couple other cars. So it's a really good like modification to do if you want to just have like the reservoir part of it without having like the oil catch can part.
Cool.
Because it can kind of, you know, reduces the size. It's a lot bulkier. Nice. Now the radiator is from a Nissan 350Z. Took a lot of like trimming and custom work to make it fit.
Now, why did you go with the 350Z?
Well, basically, I got a good deal on it. My buddy was going to put it in his G35, and he lost interest in his build, and he ended up, you know, parting it out.
Okay.
But before this, because I actually only installed this back in September. Before this, I had the Rywire tucked radiator with an all-in fab swirl pot, and I like that setup. It was good, but this setup's a lot more efficient as far as like the heat exchange, and with the supercharger, it runs like, I would say 10 degrees cooler.
Okay, so big time functional.
Yeah, because it has the bigger fans too. Now this is actually a aftermarket shroud and fan kit that's just like bolts up to any stock 350Z.
Okay.
I had the fittings welded on this though, the AN fittings, 16 AN fittings, so I can make my own hoses to accommodate the Prelude water necks. They're in completely different spots than the Nissan ones.
All right.
Titanium radiator stays that I added to it to kind of just give it that extra touch. Now all the hardware, if you notice, it's all titanium as much as I could do. My main reasoning was aesthetics. I want to make it pop, you know, and one of the benefits of titanium hardware, doesn't rust, and I think it could take a lot more stress with like heat and stuff compared to regular hardware. Even for example, like my header bolts, all titanium. I haven't had any issues with them like loosening,
stripping.
Let's see. Obviously, this heat shield isn't for my Prelude. I got to point out, ARC never made any parts for Prelude. Nothing. Besides like universal things like shift knobs and stuff, they didn't make a Prelude specific intake, for example, or Prelude specific spark plug cover. So this is actually off of Evo 9. It's their turbo manifold cover. And I've just rigged up some brackets. This is actually a Mugen header underneath, H22 Mugen header. So I rigged up some brackets to put this heat shield to kind of protect the oil cooler lines, and just because usually headers have heat shields, so it's pretty functional in my opinion. Now the oil cooler, I got it from my buddy Chris too. You'll hear him a lot. He's a good guy out of Pasadena. He does a lot of stuff for the ARC community, like as far as importing parts from Japan and refurbishing parts and selling them to people. And I got the oil catch can from him, and it originally had like a plain dipstick, but I added a titanium dipstick. Now this dipstick, this plug, the VTEC solenoid cover, the valve cover pretty much, and then the modified parts on this filter and this, it all came from one guy out in Indiana. His name is Shay Black.
Okay.
He runs Shay Spec, and he's an awesome dude. He makes all kinds of custom parts. I was actually the first person to inquire about titanium oil stick, dipstick to him, because I had bought in some of his other dipsticks. He had like aluminum ones. I had a spike one, and I had another one that looked like a camshaft. But I hit him up, and he was a little iffy. You know, he's never worked with titanium, but he did it, and he actually nowadays he makes titanium parts for a lot of people.
Nice. So kind of worked
So I
out.
kind of, you know, not that I started him on that journey, but it was kind of cool to just see it grow. However, he actually welded the fittings on. He welded them internally though, so you don't see that weld on the outside.
That's
It's
awesome.
Internally welded.
That's cool.
He shaved the VTEC logo, and then he shaved the two holes that are normally there for like right-hand applications where they put the throttle body or the throttle cable. And then he did a lot of work. He had like shaved a bunch of stuff down here where there's little bits in, like for grounds and stuff, little holes. And then at the same time he modified this oil catch can, because originally ARC catch cans don't come with breathers. I don't know, they're just a different style. So he added the breather to it, and then he modified these with AN fittings so I can attach a 10 AN line to it. And then, like I said, he made the titanium dipstick so I can check the level.
Awesome.
So he's been a huge help. I gotta give that guy props. Without him, it would have been really hard to, some of the stuff you'd see probably would be a lot different.
Aesthetically, yeah. Cool. All right, and so tell us, what kind of supercharger and air intake?
Well, the Supercharger is basically the only supercharger you can buy for this car, which is Jackson Racing. And they didn't really make it for this chassis specifically. It's actually made for the newer Preludes, 9701, the 5th gen. And the only thing you really got to do to modify it to fit in this chassis is you got to modify your shock tower right here.
Wow, it's
You
fit.
either hammer it in, or when I had my car painted, I told him to like put a little divot right here, and it's still super tight. As you can see, it still rubs just a little bit, but it works. It's not like eating the belt up or nothing. It's just the dust really that you're seeing.
Wow.
And then besides that, it bolted up. I mated it to the H23A blue top, which is from the Accord wagon in Japan. I got that from Steve at H Motors. The transmission is a T2W4, the LSD Euro R transmission. I got that from Steve at H Motors as well. As far as that, the engine is internally stock. I got it like almost 7 years ago now. It's
been good.
I'm waiting for it to happen.
So you can do
when
something
I got
more.
it, I did the timing belt, water pump, oil pump, did all the seals, did everything. But if something happens, because I don't run super high boost, and I think the first thing that's gonna go is probably like the ring lands or something.
Right.
But I'm waiting. So.
And so you said you just had a dyno. What kind of numbers did it put?
Well, it's funny you ask, because it did pretty decent numbers, but during the dyno tune, I was experiencing belt slip, which is really common with superchargers. And when that happens, your boost drops down. So during the mid range in my RPMs, I would go all the way up to 8 pounds of boost, and then the belt would get hot and start slipping, and then it would drop down to like 5 pounds, 4 pounds of boost. And that's because I'm using an aftermarket alternator bracket, and it doesn't really have a tensioner on it.
Oh, that's why.
I have to use like a crowbar to tension it. And basically the aftermarket bracket's like aesthetics, or if you're a turbo application, it gives you more room. It basically lowers, because the alternator is supposed to be right here, so it lowers it where the AC compressor was. So what I need to do to boost up my horsepower, boost up my numbers, is put the OEM alternator bracket back on, and then I can tension it. But even with the belt slip and these numbers, it was only at the top of my RPM, it was only averaging, I think, 5 pounds of boost. It made 241 horsepower and 219 torque.
Wow.
So I mean, it's still pretty nice.
That's still good.
I was driving and I still like it. I mean, I can still add that alternator bracket, like I said. And Busy was telling me if I can stay like in a constant 8 pounds of boost, it should see between like 290 and maybe, or 280 and between like maybe 300 horsepower. It has to keep the boost going instead of dropping.
Awesome, man.
But right here, I have the BB Alliance block-off plate where the power steering used to be. And basically, it's like a Prelude community, like a page on Facebook. And they do like meets every year, and he makes like little parts for the Prelude and stuff, like cooling plates and shift knobs and stuff to, you know, like help out the Prelude community. And this is like one of the parts that he made that I could, you know, utilize in my build. Now, it originally didn't come chrome plated or
But you went
with
with
titanium hardware, but I added all that to
looks super
give
clean.
it my touch.
AEM fuel rail and
Yeah, AEM fuel rail with the AEM fuel pressure regulator, and Summit Racing like a gauge for the fuel pressure. I used to have the grams one, but all the oil leaked out, so I went back to Summit Racing. And then let me see what else. This is a block off plate for the EGR. Now, when you add the supercharger, basically you take off the top of the OEM plenum and the butterfly valves, and you basically put the adapter plate on top of the OEM runners. So these are the OEM runners down here with the adapter plate, and I had all that powder coated black to kind of like offset the supercharger itself. And the S tube and the jack shaft, I had them chrome plated to, you know, give it that extra pop to match the intake and the valve cover. Now the blower itself, I painted it the same as my engine and the transmission with POR 15, which is like a rust preventive, very, very durable. Like you can drop tools on this, you can, you know, chip it, dig your fingernail into it. It withstands heat. It doesn't.
that's awesome.
Doesn't chip. It doesn't fade. It doesn't discolor.
Cool.
Even high temperature.
All right, and then you mentioned this is where the line from the water meth kicks in, so that way it cools the.
Yeah, basically the water meth comes in here, and here's that sensor for the gauge I was showing you on the dash. And yeah, you want to keep it between 6 and 7 inches of your throttle body. Now, right now, I'm actually using a stock 63 millimeter throttle body. I had skunk tooth throttle body, but I had like 2 of them, and I just those throttle bodies either leak or they were sticking, and
They don't work.
Didn't work.
Okay.
And the S tube itself only has a 64 millimeter opening, so I would have had to port that out. And with the numbers I'm doing, it's just I don't really need that much air going in because the supercharger already, you know, it's pumping in the volume it needs. It doesn't really. When I was tuning it, the air wasn't an issue.
Right.
The intake obviously is ARC. The top part, the power chamber is from an EG6, and then the box itself is from a EK9. I got new couplers from Matt at ICB Motorsports, and then I added titanium hose clamps with titanium hardware and a new filter and a new sticker. So it's like a completely like redone intake. Deleted the brake booster, and I added like S2000 clutch master, which basically cleans it up because usually your reservoir is up here for your clutch. And then with a full Y-wire hydraulic line for that, and then the brake lines are all hydraulic lines too to add to the brake line tuck with the endless reservoir caps, and these are all titanium hardware as well. And then on the other side, the only other hole in the firewall is where I keep the Y-wire harness or the quick disconnect, where you can, you know, plug it.
All right, Jeremy. So thank you so much for sharing. So what are the future plans for this Prelude, and any shoutouts?
Okay, well, future plans. Basically, like I was saying earlier, I want to probably raise the car up and do a more functional wheel and tire setup, so I can do some, you know, some more fun events with it maybe in the future. Besides that, I like everything else the way it is. Maybe one day I'm thinking about adding electric power steering from the MR2, the electric power steering pump. I can tuck that underneath the dash and bring back power steering because I kind of miss having power steering. But besides that, that's pretty much it. I was got to shout out Chris from JDM Kane Lab, Shea Black from Shea Spec, Rick from West Coast Fasteners, David and Ryan from Y-Wire, Angel Torres and Joe from Nemo's Garage for helping me get lots of parts. And let's see, you guys at Action Clutch, I forgot to talk about my clutch, but it's a Stage 2 Kevlar clutch with their Action Clutch flywheel, 12-pound. He gave me a really good deal on it. Let's see, who else? Big Mike's always been really supportive. I got the front lip from him, and me and him have helped each other out with our cars, and I've helped him out with his car, and he's helped me out with my car. The online Prelude community, for everything they've done. It's, without them, it'd be really hard to find some of the parts and, you know, to learn some of the stuff. Let's see. The guy that did my body and paint was Georgie built out of Ontario.
Hi, Jeremy. Well, thank you so much for making some time for us.
Mm-hmm.
I truly appreciate for taking the time, and nothing but best luck with the future plans for this Prelude, man. Thank you so much for making time.
Yeah, man, no problem. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to put a Prelude on your channel.
I like Preludes, man.